if you don't have a block. And so let's make our way over to the mat. So we're going to start lying down in Supta Baddha Konasana, feet together, knees out to the side. And if you have the block, you can do the block under the shoulders, or just lie flat. All right. Here we are. And bringing those legs to Baddha Konasana. And then as you're ready, making your way down on the block with the block underneath the shoulders, underneath the upper chest there, opening that up, or else lying flat. And taking a few moments, adjusting yourself, getting that physical body a little more settled in, whatever little shifts and squinges you need. And then once you're fairly settled in, letting that body become more still and quiet, and really feeling your breath. Inhaling and exhaling. As you can use your breath to stretch out the upper chest a little more, stretch out along the rib cage. Letting your breath get a little slower and longer. Letting the rest of the day slip away. And you're just here in your body, on your mat, focused on the wave of the breath. And then sending that breath pouring out the front of the shoulders, breathing the arms up overhead like we do when we're sitting. And you can also feel like you're sitting with those sitting bones on the opposite wall here. And a big inhale and exhale, breathing the arms back down alongside. We'll do that a few more times. Inhale and exhale, breathing up. Inhale and exhale, breathing down. And then we will finish with this in the next few moments. Finding a place for your arms to land, coming to a little bit more stillness once more. Just breathing. And we'll slide the legs out to straight. So as you slide them out, make it really deliberate. Lengthening out, feeling those legs extend, that little shift in the hip joints. There they are, long and flat. And coming up, if you have the block, moving it out of the way and coming back down. And then getting a little more active through the legs, flexing the feet, standing on the opposite wall, maybe holding the sides of the mat, doing a little push down action to lengthen up through the top of the head. And then we'll bend the right leg in, left hand on that right knee, bringing the right knee across, and extending the right arm out to the side, out from the shoulder. Inhaling and exhaling. Use that breath to ease yourself over onto your left outer hip a little more and a little more. Deepening the stretch on the outer right thigh, deepening that twist. And coming back to the center, and we'll go to the other side. Slide that right leg out to straight, then the left leg, and pulling that left knee across to the right. Inhale and exhale, easing your way over, and then reaching out through that left shoulder, out through the fingertips. And one more deep breath here. And coming back to the center, sliding that left leg out. Let's take a stretch overhead with the arms, long and flat along the floor. And then pulling the knees into the chest, rounding the nose up toward the knees. And we'll take a few rolling like a balls or anything else you want to do here. I don't know if it's coming through on the audio. I'm on the squeaky spot on the floor here. All right, and then we will all be up to sitting. And as you come up, slide those legs straight out in front into Dandasana. And using those arms alongside, a little like we do in the Sukhasana, cross legs. Pressing forward and up, trying to hinge into the hip joints. Reaching long through the heels. And then maybe easing your way a little bit more over and a little bit more over. So keeping the hands pressing from behind if that's working well. Or maybe you want to bring the hands onto the legs or getting hold of the feet or on the floor. So working with this Paschimottanasana here the way you need to for this moment. Keep using that breath to encourage more space in the body, more extension, more ease. And then coming up. And then we'll go to Sukhasana, the crossed legs. And give another lift there with the arms, maybe a little shifting. And releasing with the arms. And then letting the hands rest on the knees. Shoulders pouring down, tops of the head lengthening up, top of the head. I think we only have one head there. Inhaling and exhaling. A little press down with the sitting bones. And then lift all the way up from the pelvic floor up out the top of the head. And reaching out wide through the collarbones, through the fingertips. Breathing those arms up overhead. We'll bring the hands together. So really feel them coming together. The base of the hands, the knuckles, the fingertips, hands pressing into each other there and drawing down the center line. So really press the hands, really pull the elbows, a little extra strength and effort here. And then let that soften. Thumbs come to the sternum, shoulders drop a little down and back, as do the elbows.
Inhaling and exhaling. And still really feeling those hands pressing together. There's that feeling of each hand pressing into the other one. And then there's the center line, each hand against the center line. And then a strong press to bring those arms back up. Lifting up a little more, big reach wide and down. Bringing the legs in, change the cross of those legs. And let's come forward, reaching out long and over. Inhale and exhale, breathing into the back of the body. And then coming up, unfurling that spine vertebrae by vertebrae back up on top of the sitting bones. So everything drops into place. And then let's Matsyasana. So pulling that left leg in, so I'll be the mirror here for the moment. Left leg comes in a little more, cross the right leg over, or you can keep the left leg out straight, long through the top of the head. And see if you can feel like those inner thighs under there are doing a squeeze into the center line, way at the top of the thigh there. Strong into the center, long through the top of the head. And then we'll reach with our right arm. Take a big lift, reaching up a little more to the ceiling, and then bringing that right arm behind you and into the twist. If you want, you can bring the left arm across the leg as well. Really feeling that right leg squeezing across the left leg. They're a little connected into each other, squeezing in, and also pressing against the center line. Coming back to the front. And then let's switch legs. Bringing the right leg down, crossing the left leg over. Getting settled there, or of course you can have the right leg straight. And then looking for that squeezing feeling, drawing into the center line there. So your inner thighs are not probably actually touching, though they might be just a little bit at the very top of the thigh. So it's more of a think thing that those two thighs are squeezing together and pressing against the center line. And then bringing that left arm forward. Big reach up a little more space and reaching back with the left arm and into the twist. And just holding on with the right arm or maybe bringing it across. Feeling that squeeze across of the legs. Coming back to the center, disentangling those legs, and let's come around and up into downward facing dog. And when you're there, of course, walking the dog, or anything else you want to do to get more settled in. And along with
the legs there and maybe the lower back, thinking about your arms and your hands. Extending out through the fingertips, making sure the hands aren't turned in toward each other, but are pointing straight ahead, or maybe just a tiny rotation to the side. Pressing out through the knuckles to the fingertips. You can think of the hands pulling apart and the upper arms squeezing together. And then we'll stop all that thinking and doing and just be in the best downward facing dog you can do at this moment. Taking a few deep breaths here. And then let's lengthen forward to a plank, long and flat against the ceiling. So maybe you can do that, drag the hands out, squeeze the upper arms in here. Nice strong legs, strong core. One more breath. And then hinging yourself back up to that downward facing dog. And we'll bend the knees, coming down, sitting back in child's pose, lifting up the base of the wrist, pausing there a moment with a little suspend with the wrist lifted. Maybe your sitting bones didn't quite touch yet. And then continuing and settling back. And let's expand back up to downward facing dog. And we will lift our right leg up, reaching long through the heel, reaching a little more into the floor to reach the right leg a little bit higher. Reaching that left heel down to the floor more and more and more. And then let's hover plank, bringing that knee forward, pulling the thigh up, shin trying to be parallel to the floor, and swooping back up. Big inhale, hover plank once again. And then we're going to set that right shin along the floor and really press back through the left heel as we lengthen up the front of the body so that mostly we're stretching the front of our left thigh and hip here. And then if you can lift yourself to the hover plank, do or just step back to downward facing dog. Deep breath here. Remember, you can always come down and give those wrists and arms a break in child's pose for a moment. And then we'll do the same thing on the left. Lifting the left leg up. Extend a little more, both up and down. And then see, can you reach that right heel, your standing heel, even more down toward the floor? And then we'll hover plank, pulling that knee forward and thigh up, shin feeling parallel to the floor. Lifting back up with a big inhale. Hover plank once again. And then setting that shin down. And lifting the upper chest, lengthening out. And stretching down the front of the right hip and the right thigh. And then we'll make our way back to downward facing dog, maybe picking yourself up in that hover plank again, or just stepping back. And then here we all are, downward facing dog, bending the knees, coming down, sitting back, picking up the base of the wrist, suspend a moment, And then releasing into the child's pose. And once more up to downward facing dog. And then let's go through the vinyasa, any version you want, including none at all. Forward to the plank, lowering in chaturanga, upward facing dog, or maybe the cobra, and then downward facing dog. And we will look between our hands to jump or step forward. Into the concave back, halfway up, lengthen a little more, and folding over. And then coming up to standing, big front body yawn, lifting up. And arms down all the way around to namaste in front. Samasthiti, steadiness. And let's come back over. So we'll do a couple half sun salutes. That's where we do the forward bend and come back up. Lifting into the front body, yawn. Extend a little more. Reaching out and over. Let the head go. Concave back halfway up. Folding over. Take a breath here. Making your way back up. Into the front body yawn. Let's put an extra circle here. Strong core as we take the arms around, all the way around and back up overhead. And then we'll pull down to namaste in front. Lift a little higher, pulling the hands down, really feeling those two hands together, coming down the center line, bringing them in, softening a little. And let's come over once more. And we'll continue this time. Big inhale up and exhale, diving over. Concave back, folding over. And let's step back with the left leg so that we have our right lunge. Nice long line from the top of the head out that left heel. And we'll take a twist to the right, bringing that right arm up. Option number one, just staying here, or maybe lifting up a little and bringing the hands to namaste, left elbow onto the right thigh. And then all back with hands on the floor. Stepping back to the plank, through the vinyasa, downward facing dog. And let's lift that right leg up. And we'll hover plank again, knee forward. And lift it up again, big inhale. And exhale, coming forward. And then lift that left leg up into a standing split, or probably won't look much like a standing split. Just reach that left leg behind you. Stretching long between both legs. And then we're going to bring the back of the left knee to the back of the right knee. Contract the abdominal muscles up, squeeze those thighs together. Give them another little squeeze, and then expanding back up to the standing split. And setting the left foot down next to the right. Coming back up to standing. Big lift in that front body on extra circle. Lots of strength all the way around. And hands to namaste. Lift, lengthen, flatten, press the hands, feeling that center line. Soften into the sternum, into the heart center.
And let's come over, we'll do that on the left. Big lift up and diving over. Concave back, folding over. So we'll step back with the right leg into the low lunge and twisting to the left. And then you can stay here or coming around to namaste, right elbow to the left knee. And then hands to the floor, stepping back to the plank, through the vinyasa or not, downward facing dog. And lifting your left leg up. Hover plank knee forward. And lifting up again. And then stepping through to the lunge. And then the right leg comes up into the air in a standing split. Just breathing through the legs, being wherever you are at this moment, whether it's a split or not. And then we'll squeeze that all in. Bend the knee, contract the abdominal muscles, squeezing that right thigh in behind the left. And then expanding out again. And bringing that right leg down next to the left. Deep breath. Coming back up. And once more with that circle around to namaste. Lift a little more. Big circle around. And lots of lift and strength as we come to namaste in front. Softening into the heart. And let's go to Utkatasana. Big lift up into the front body yawn as if you're going to go into that back bend again, but then bend the knees. So we're in a big back bend for a moment. Swoop the arms forward. Pull the abdominal muscles in. Flatten out. Feeling those legs squeezing in toward each other. Lots of strength there in the upper back, holding those arms up. Breathing. Pull those sitting bones back just a little more. And releasing over, straightening up the legs. Concave back, folding over. Vinyasa or not, downward facing dog. And let's lift our right leg up, reaching long through the heel. And dog at the high fire hydrant, bending the knee, opening up those inner thighs, that inner groin. And extending the right leg out again, through to the lunge, coming up in the warrior number one. Virabhadrasana number one. Back heel grounded down. And as you come up like I did, I ended up pulling myself up a little. Pull that lunge a little longer and lower. And then let's interlock the fingers behind. Rolling the shoulders out, lifting the upper chest. And coming forward, humble warrior,
reaching out. Maybe you're just along that right thigh, maybe a little sinking down and inside. Pressing up through the arms. So don't let the arms just get all passive and kind of hang there. They feel like that any moment they're going to pull you back up. But they're not. Letting that go, and then setting yourself up for the warrior two, the base of the warrior two. Turning your left foot to 90 degrees, arranging your right foot either heel to heel or heel to arch. And you can put your right hand against that right inner thigh or knee, taking a little stretch into the inner thigh, the roller derby. And then we'll swoop around and we come up in the warrior number two. And let's breathe those arms up overhead, hands coming together, drawing down the center line in namaste. Soften a little into the heart. And then straighten the leg. Let's breathe those arms back up overhead. Big reach, and then back into the warrior two, pulling the arms wide. Let's do that once again, a little less lingeringly. Breathing the arms up, down the center line. Feeling that. Then as the arms come up again, let that right leg straighten. Feel like you're dragging the legs into each other. And reaching out into the warrior number two again. And this time, we're only going to bring the right arm. Bringing the right arm up, drawing it down the center line. You almost feel the left hand there. And then turn and look over the right shoulder, reach through the left fingertips. And then turn your head over the left shoulder, looking out that left hand. And keeping the arms here tilting into the triangle. So you might not come over that far in the torso. Feeling that press up through the right hand help you. And then with great relief, we'll release that right hand onto the leg or onto the floor. Nice deep breaths. Everything expanding out. And let's shift our weight forward. We'll come up in the half moon, Ardha Chandrasana. Lifting up to the ceiling. And then we're going to contract down, left thigh coming in behind the right, as we did earlier from the standing split. Big inhale and exhale. Good news is we're not coming back up. Hold here a moment. Maybe you want to take the right hand off and you can balance. And then we'll just extend that left leg back. And bringing the left knee down. And here we are at long last, Enjayasana. Coming up, inhale and exhale, and just breathing here. And bringing the arms down, stepping back to the plank, through the vinyasa, downward facing dog.
I'm just going to turn around so we're on the same side, or so I come out facing you. And we'll do all of that on the left. Lifting your left leg up. And then dog at the high fire hydrant, opening those thighs. And extending the left leg out through to the lunge, warrior number 1 again. Coming up. And then after you've come up, maybe a little coming down, deepening into your lunge again. Breathing here. And then let's bring those arms around to interlock the fingers. Rolling the shoulders out, lifting up. And we'll come forward, humble warrior. Reaching out. Once again, don't let your lunge come up to you. Keep that lunge long and low. Maybe taking that left shoulder a little or a lot inside. And then pressing up through those arms. Keeping them very active. And release the hands. Then we'll head for the roller derby, a little stretch before we go to the board, before we go to the warrior 2. Turning the right foot to 90 degrees. There's your left foot. Check that heel to heel or heel to arch alignment. Left hand on the inside of the left thigh, taking a little stretching into this. And then swooping up into the warrior number 2. Taking a few breaths, getting settled here. Because now you know we're going to be here a while. All right, let's breathe those arms up overhead. Bringing the hands together, really feeling them come together, pressing on the center line as those arms draw down. And namaste in front, and also feeling the center line. Each hand is against that. And then as we come up, we'll let that left leg straighten. Feel like the right leg draws in a little too and gets straighter. As we reach up a little bit more and then broaden out into the warrior 2 again. So let's do that again, a little less lingeringly. So staying in the warrior 2, arms come up and down the center line. Straightening up, arms come up overhead. Lift a little more. Big wide reach back into the warrior 2. And then this time, the left arm is going to go on its own. Bringing the left arm up, drawing down the center line. Imagining you can feel the right hand against the left. And then turning your head, looking over the left shoulder, looking forward. And then turning the head, looking out over that right arm, looking to the back. And then keeping these arms tilting into the triangle. So don't try to go over further than you can. So keep looking up to the right. That'll sort of help. Thinking of that extending right arm, helping you a little press up from the left. And then releasing the left hand onto your leg or onto the floor.
And we'll hold for a few breaths here in the triangle. Remembering every breath is a subtle action. Inhaling and exhaling. And then up to Ardha Chandrasana, the half moon, shifting the weight forward and coming up. Nice big lift up of that right side to the ceiling. And then we'll contract in. Big inhale and exhale. Bend the left knee, the right knee comes behind the thigh, squeezes in, pull those abdominal muscles up and in. Maybe you can take the left hand off and do a little balance here. And then we'll step back with the right leg into the lunge. Bringing the right knee down, coming up in Vinyasyasana. Inhaling up the front, exhale, pouring down the back. And a big reach down. Stepping back to the plank. And we're going to lower ourselves down onto the floor. So you can chaturanga down, you can knees, chest, chin, you can kneeling plank down. And here we all are, taking a small cobra as you land, lengthening down. And then bringing those arms forward and into the Sphinx. Elbows under the shoulders, reaching out to the fingertips. Pulling forward and up, tailbone into the floor. And really feel those legs squeezing together. So scoot them in right next to each other. Squeeze the inner thighs toward each other and a little rotating in and up. And come down. And then let's interlock our fingers behind. All right, see if you can find that leg squeeze. So it might mean your legs are not going to lift as much as they usually do in Salabhasana. Squeeze the inner thighs and lengthen to left. Maybe they don't even lift at all, but squeeze those legs together. Release the hands, palms to the ceiling. One more squeeze in and coming down. And then let's come back up into our Sphinx. And we'll do a few scorpion tails. So you can keep your elbow on the floor. You can let it come off. You can change the position of the arms. But let's start with those squeezing thighs together. As you lift the right leg, still feel like that right inner thigh is really squeezed against the center line as you bend the knee. And then you unsqueeze and roll. Foot to the floor, knee to the ceiling. Kind of like dog at the high fire hydrant, lying down. And then you come back and pull those inner thighs back together. Left leg a little slowly like that. Feeling that squeeze as you lift. Bending the knee, keep squeezing in. And then that all opens up as you scorpion tail to the other side. And then as you come back in, pull those upper inner thighs in. So even though our foot is making a big journey through space there, see if you can feel like you're doing this from the center out, from the pelvis, from those upper inner thighs squeezing together. So we'll go back and forth a few times. If you don't feel like thinking so hard anymore, just fling your legs around. All right, here we go. Right leg coming up and over. So you can go at your own timing. See if you can feel a little of that. The foot moves far, so it's tempting to move from the foot. But see if you can feel like you're moving from the center, from the pelvis, from those inner thighs, squeezing in. And we'll finish this up in a few moments. Make sure you finish evenly right and left for yourself. And then we'll be back in the center. And find that squeeze in again, coming back to our Sphinx, evening everything out. And then healing ourselves back up. Maybe a couple cats and cows. That scorpion tail could be a little hard on the lower back. And coming back up to downward facing dog. And you can go through a vinyasa here or not. And then looking between the hands to jump or step forward. Into the concave back, halfway up. Folding over. Maybe you can find some of that leg squeezing here as we make our way up to standing big front body long. And pressing the arms down all the way around to Namaste. All right, so let's do Dance of Parvati, as some of you have perhaps already figured out that's where we're headed. So we are at the top of our mat, and just for a moment, as we do the right side, I'm just going to turn around, because then I'll come out facing you. Maybe this will be confusing. Well, I'll try to say right and left very clearly. Here we are in Tadasana. Feeling those hands in that namaste together in that center line. As we take a little bend to the knees, and then bring your left leg behind you, thigh to thigh, and put the left ball of the foot down like a little kickstand. And then squeeze the legs together as you hinge yourself back into sort of a chair pose. And we'll twist to the right, expanding the arms, hooking the left arm over the right, reaching long. And then bending that left arm, hand into the half namaste. And squeezing your way back up to Tadasana. Deep breath, and then we'll go on the left. So I'll face back in my usual way, a little bend in the knees, so the right leg will step back, thigh to thigh, knee to knee, ball of the foot comes to the floor, and pushing and squeezing those thighs together as you chair pose. And then twisting to the left, wide arms. And then bending the right arm and coming to the half namaste. Pouring your heart up through your left hand.
And as we come out, you squeeze even harder with those upper thighs to step back to Tadasana. Deep breath. Let's come over. Lifting up. And diving over. Concave back, folding over. And jumping or stepping back. And through the vinyasa, downward facing dog. All right, so let's lift our right leg up. So feeling that center line that those thighs kind of squeeze into as the leg lifts. And then we'll bend the knee, dog at the high fire hydrant. This should be kind of familiar like the scorpion tails. And then maybe taking it around and waterfalling to the wild thing. And we'll make our way back through to the lunge and coming to the warrior two. And warrior number two. Everything's pulling out again. And then, as we did earlier, bringing your arms up. Namaste into the center. Straighten the legs as the arms come back up, pulling them together, and then we're going to the triangle right from here. Hinging over, big reach out. And then up to Ardha Chandrasana, bending that right leg, shifting forward, coming out. And from here, we're going to the dance of Parvati. Big inhale and exhale. So I squeeze my left thigh behind the right, set the ball of that left foot down. Coming up with the hands in Namaste there. And then twisting to the right. And bending the left arm into the half Namaste. And squeezing your way back up to Tadasana. Deep breaths, Namaste, steadiness. So I'm just going to the other end of the mat again, so I come out facing you. And coming over. Big inhale up, and exhale, diving over. Concave back through the vinyasa, downward facing dog. All right, left side, lifting the left leg up, feeling that center line as the left leg lifts. And then the knee bends and we open those inner thighs, dog at the high fire hydrant. You can hold that or continue waterfalling to the wild thing. And we'll make our way back from that wild thing and through to the lunge, warrior number two. Breathing here. And then starting as we were doing earlier, bringing the arms up overhead. Feeling those hands come together, drawing down the center line. And straighten the legs as the arms come back up. Pulling both legs into the center, hinging over into the triangle. And then up to Ardha Chandrasana, the half moon. And then from here, we are going to the dance of Parvati. Big inhale and exhale. Contract right thigh to the back of the left. Ball of the right foot down. And just bring the hands to Namaste, coming up into that chair posy thing. And then we will twist to the left. And bending the right arm into the half Namaste. And squeezing yourself back up to Tadasana. Deep breath. And let's release the hands, and we will just make our way down to the floor. Aha. And where are we headed? All right, so coming down, and we're going out to Konasana. So we're just going to come down and stick our legs out. That was my challenge for today, not to have a big production into everything all the time. All right. Not squeezing the inner thighs together. Reaching out through those heels with a little lift from behind. And then coming over. Inhale, lots of space. Exhale, pouring over. And then, yep. Let's bend our right leg. So I will be the mirror here. The risk of confusing everything. So I'm being the mirror. Right leg is bent, left leg is straight, long through the top of the head. Twisting to the right toward that bent leg. And left hand onto the left leg, reaching out and over into the side bend, Parvrita VinyasaSat.02. And then a big reach around, turning to face your left leg. Rolling that belly all the way around to the left and extending over your leg, Janu Shirsasana. Feeling a little reach back through that right inner thigh and knee. And then to the center, half dragonfly. Reaching out knee to heel. Trying to be right in the center, not still shifted a little towards your left leg. And coming up. And let's switch legs. Bending the left leg in. One long leg, one short leg. Taking a few breaths here. Reaching heel to knee and knee to heel. And we will twist to the left toward the bent leg. And then right hand onto the right leg. And with that left arm reaching out and up and over, VinyasaSat.02. Reaching out through that left inner thigh out the knee. And then a big reach around with that left arm, turning to face the right leg, bringing that belly and the ribs all the way around to the right, facing the leg, coming forward in VinyasaSat. And that reach out through that left inner thigh and knee. And then coming forward into the half dragonfly between both legs, trying to find that center. We have a tendency to shift toward whichever leg is the straight leg. If you can be right in the center. And coming up. Extend that left leg out. Bring those legs in. And let's do the dolphin pose. So, there are probably even more, but we're going to do this. So that's the downward facing dog on the forearms. So that's one way to do it. Another way to do it is the interlocked fingers. And if you're doing that, you want to bring the little finger inside so it doesn't get crushed. But today's default will be the namaste hands. And then you want your elbows about shoulder distance apart. So more or less, if you pull them right back alongside, you can feel where that shoulder distance apart is and that pressing together of the hands. And then setting that down on your mat, reaching along the outer edge of the hands. And pressing down all the way from the fingertips back to the elbows. And then we'll tuck those toes under, coming up like downward facing dog. So you want to maybe be a step or two closer to your arms than you are in your usual downward facing dog. Press down into those forearms, pushing yourself up and back. And then we're going to slide. So remember, we're not going to a forearm plank here. We're sliding forward and trying to arch the back up, which is a different sort of an action than sliding back. So it might be very small for your shoulders, this movement. Pulling back to come forward. And then lifting up through the hips. Doing that a couple more times. Inhale and exhale forward. Inhale and exhale, pushing back, or however the breath is working for you, but making sure you are breathing.
And then we'll finish with that. Coming down, sitting back in child's pose. And then let's go on to the forearm plank. And then we'll hinge up from the forearm plank, which will put us in a long downward facing dog. And we'll do that back and forth. Maybe you can feel the difference between that and the sliding. Yeah, we're kind of going out, finishing up class with a, I don't know, maybe this isn't a big thing. All right, it's a simple thing, might not be easy. So there we are, forearm plank. Once again, you can use those interlocked fingers, which is a lot more stabilizing if you like. And then finding that distance here. All right, forearm plank. So as we come to downward facing dog from here, it's less of a swoopy slide and more of a press and lift the hips back. So it might not be a very high downward facing dog. So it's a little more linear feeling and then lengthening to the plank. And doing that a few times back and forth. Oops, sliding feet. And so it's possible that you're thinking you don't see any difference between this and what we were doing before. So that's all right. Oh, I forgot to talk about squeezing our inner thighs together. Are you squeezing them together? All right, that's enough of this. Let's come down. Let's come down onto our stomach once more into that Sphinx to flatten out the front of the hip joint into the floor. And then coming back up. And let's see, well, we've got a minute or two. So let's go Mukasana, the cow face pose, or sitting with the crossed legs. So let's see. I'll turn around to be the mirror here again. You can have the crossed legs with the right leg front, or maybe bringing that right leg across the top. And now we're back to squeezing legs. Oh, so sitting in VinyasaSat.02 with the foot down, that would work as well. All right, squeezing yourself up the center line, grounding down the sides. So we're going to do the Gomukhasana arms, or maybe just half of them. So let's bring our left arm up, bend the elbow. So if you want to bring the right hand behind and do the hand clasp, go ahead. Or you can just hold on to that left elbow, which will actually give you a little more stretch in the left tricep here. Two long parallel sides up, two long parallel sides down, and then that long extended center line. Wide across the upper chest. And then let's pull over to the right a little. Stretching more into that left upper arm. Squeezing that right leg across to the left. And coming up, release the arms and we will switch legs. So either the cross legs, Gomukhasana, maybe VinyasaSat.02, standing on that left foot. Squeezing up, grounding down. Taking a few breaths here. And then bringing that right arm up, bend the elbow. So if you want, think
Bring the left hand to the right hand there, or just holding the elbow overhead. And feeling two very long parallel sides, lengthening up and down. Extended center line there. Sometimes just trying to do that to be very parallel and flat puts more stretch onto that right arm. And then over to the left. And coming back up. Release the arms, disentangle the legs. So we've just got a short Shavasana again. So let's use the wider Shavasana. Maybe the legs a little wider, not right together. And then here we are, coming to the floor, backs of the hands on the floor. Inhaling and exhaling, letting go. Just sinking into the floor. So we're not really extending out anymore. We're not really extending or squeezing in. We're just letting gravity hold our body while we breathe a little more deeply, a little more easily. And let ourselves rest in the wave of the breath. And then just one more deep breath here, though, of course, you can stay longer if you like. And moving the fingers and toes, maybe a little circling of the wrists and the ankles. Stretching the arms up overhead. And bending the knees. And making your way gently up to sitting. And sitting in any comfortable position with that long and spacious spine. Taking a few more moments sitting quietly inside yourself. Namaste. Thank you for coming.